There we are. There we are. What's up, everybody? Oh, there we go. The music kept playing. What's up, everybody? It's three of us, not four of us. Jose Armando had a late call up to do something else. So he's missing in action, but it's the three of us. Ajicita is back. Andrea Llanes, Simon Evans, whose nickname we will talk about shortly. We have a potential nickname or options for nicknames. It has something to do with that hat, by the way. Franco Panizo here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Welcome, guys. Obviously, it's going to be a championship show because Inter Miami are champions at last. After 3.5 bumpy years, they finally lifted a trophy. They have won the Leagues Cup, albeit in very dramatic fashion. So we will talk about that. Simon and I did a really quick rapid fire preview post-game reaction pod in Nashville in the radio booth or the studio recording booth that we had in the very interesting hotel that we stayed at. By the way, Simon, I left my my cord in that studio, so I am micless today. So if my sound sounds a little bit off, it's because I'm going just off the mic from the computer, not on my USB mic. But let's start with Andrea. Andrea, how are you doing tonight? Welcome back.
Hi guys, nice to be back. Ready to talk about the first title, the first trophy, the first silverware for Inter Miami. I bet fans are very excited. We're gonna talk about it, and I'm glad to be back. I missed you guys.
Yeah,
And I'm
people have
stealing
been asking for
Jose's
you.
studios because Jose had something come up, so I'm stealing his studio for today.
Yeah, nifty background there, Andreita. Simon, how are you doing today? Have you gotten some rest post Nashville?
Not enough, no, but ready to talk about it all again because it was an eventful game and an eventful weekend for sure.
It was an eventful weekend. Simon and I were in Nashville. We will bring you some sights and sounds. I know if my volume's a little bit low or a little bit weaker, again, guys, apologies. I left my USB cord in Nashville. So, donation to the Nashville partying heavens. So, I mean, we can just jump right into the game if you guys want to, because Inter Miami is a champion at last. They beat Nashville SC on penalty kicks 10-9. It went 11 rounds after a 1-1 draw. Lionel Messi scored the goal, the opening goal in the 23rd minute, but it was canceled out by a Fafa Pico equalizer in the second half off of, you guessed it, yes, a set piece. Penalty kicks came. Everyone but Victor Ulloa made theirs for Inter Miami, and the game winner, the championship decider, off the foot of goalkeeper Drake Callender, who then made a ensuing save to win it. Goalkeeper on goalkeeper crime. He stops Elliot Paneco's shot, and Inter Miami are champions. Andrea, I will start with you because I haven't heard really your thoughts on the overall championship, the overall title, el triunfo, la copa, the cup, the title, el título, everything we can say there. So, Andrea, you watched it from here in South Florida. What did you experience? What did you think of the way Inter Miami were crowned champions at last?
Well, it was very interesting for people that don't know the team or didn't know the team or began watching the team until Messi came. It was a very interesting match. I thought it was a very competitive match between the two teams. It was exciting with Messi's goal, even though Nashville were dominated at that moment. Inter Miami had that brilliance moment from Messi. So that changed the game a little bit. But Nashville, I thought they could crumble like every other opponent that they had in this Leagues Cup, except for Cruz Azul. I thought that they would crumble, but they didn't, and they came back and they played a good second half. They had a lot of chances. They got the tie, and Inter Miami after the tie looked a little bit tired. Then came some changes that I don't agree with because I don't agree to be that defensive just to make sure you don't lose, to bring two defensive midfielders like Ulloa and David Ruiz in that moment. But I really liked that Inter Miami, even though this was the type of game that in the past they would lose when they were against the ropes, and they didn't, and that is because of Drake Callender. Because I think also Nashville made a mistake when they brought Fafa out. That changed the game a lot, and they had chances, and that chance, especially that Drake makes the save, I think if Fafa was in the field, he would have taken advantage of that shot. So I think the biggest takeaway from me is that fight that the team had, and the stellar game that Drake Callender had in the 90 minutes, and that, of course, in the penalties. And when the time came for the penalties, and I heard that Victor Ulloa was one of the 5 penalty takers, I was surprised. I understood, because if Victor Ulloa is one of the only players, Drake Callender, he is from the first season, but he didn't play that first season. So Victor Ulloa is the only player that has been here playing since the first season. So I thought, well, it has been good. Well, Robbie Robinson, yes, I forgot about him, yes, but he didn't play. Yes, you're right. And I thought it was a good gesture to have him take the penalty, but I wouldn't have given him the 5th penalty, to tell you the truth. Then I really liked the other players, the other players once the sudden death started. I think Christoph made a really good penalty. It really surprised me. For me, it was one of the best penalties, the one that Christoph did. Then David Ruiz, who did that also good penalty, that Paneca style penalty. I like it a lot. And then I think the moment that everyone was like a little bit nervous was even Messi, like in TV, that we were watching it on TV. You could see that Messi was nervous when Diego Gomez came and threw his penalty, because Diego looked a little bit nervous. So
I mean,
Messi
I think everyone was nervous, Andrea. I think most of the players would be nervous. Maybe
most were nervous, but
not
you could
Busquets.
see Messi. You could see Messi when Diego came up. You could the Apple TV cameras, they had a Messi cam, so you could see like Messi's reaction, like oof, like wow. But I really liked how the players took those penalties, especially Christoph. I liked Christoph's penalty, and the game was fought hard, and it came down to goalkeeper against goalkeeper, and Drake Callender got the best of Nashville. But it was either way. I think right now Inter Miami is happy, but if Nashville was the one that won, people would have been happy too, because they had a good tournament and they played especially a good game against Inter Miami and against especially Messi and all his friends. No.
I mean, people would be okay, would be like, with the performance of the tournament, be satisfied. But I mean, I don't even know if satisfied is the right word. People would have been okay.
Franco, they took America and Monterrey out. That doesn't happen a lot.
I'm talking about Inter Miami. If Inter Miami had not won.
Oh, if Inter Miami hadn't won. Oh, yeah.
Then I think it would have been like, man, they were this close and they didn't get there. But they got there. They did it, and they were victorious. Drake Callender's penalty kick, I thought was really, really good. I mean,
surprised me.
I was out like from the press box. I don't know how because Simon was on the other end of the press box. I don't know how Simon lived it, but it was tense. It felt tense because you didn't know who was going to be the one to miss, right? And they kept making it. But after, when everyone stepped up and you got to the players that you don't expect to take penalty kicks, it was like, like they didn't transmit a whole lot of confidence on the walk up, at least, from where I was sitting. But again, a lot of good takes. Even DeAndre Yedlin took a heck of a penalty kick. And even though he said after the game he was nervous as heck, actually, we have that clip. Let me see if I can pull it up here so you guys can hear what DeAndre Yedlin said. I thought it was very, very humorous the way he said how nervous he was. Simon, we'll hear from you in a second.
What went through your mind on your penalty kick?
Question. What was that?
What went through your mind on your penalty kick?
Just please don't miss. Yeah, that was it. I was like, please don't miss. Don't let me be the guy. Flashbacks from Orlando.
It was well hit. It was well hit.
Yeah.
You didn't look like you were scared.
Yeah, no. I tried to show that I was confident, but I was pretty nervous, to be honest. But yeah, I fortunately made that one, and Drake finished it off.
Let's hear what Drake said about his penalty kick.
Drake, congrats on the victory in the championship. But I mean, just what went through your mind there? Making your penalty kick. I mean, what went through your mind as you took that penalty kick? Not often you see goalkeepers take one, and then moments later to make the save that gave you guys the championship.
Yeah, I mean, once I realized that I was gonna have to take one, it was just pretty exciting. I'd never taken a PK like that before. I mean, it was my first professional goal. As well as I had 2 saves in a shootout, which I hadn't made a save in a shootout before as a pro. So it feels good to work hard and be prepared for those moments. And fortunately, we were able to come out with the win.
You're on mute. You're on mute there, Franco.
I'm not on mute. You're on mute. 2 completely different takes there, Simon. What'd you think?
Everyone's nervous with penalties. Doesn't matter who they are, And I bet even Messi's a little bit nervous taking a penalty. No, I bet he is a little.
Maybe because he didn't look.
Jordi Alba looked very nervous.
It goes. All kinds of things go through people's mind. I'm sure, and it's like if you think about it, I was watching it. You were asking about emotions and stuff. I was really, thinking which players I didn't want to miss, so that that horrible feeling. You think about the younger players on the team, right? How terrible it would have been if, the story is and it goes around the world, because this was a game that was covered globally and everything, and the first thing people around the world hear really about David Ruiz is that he misses the penalty that denied Messi his first trophy in America and all that kind of stuff. Incredible pressure those guys were under. Yedlin's an experienced pro, and he said he was nervous, so they all were nervous, but they all did pretty well. Even Victor Loa's penalty was a good height to save, as they say. It was that kind of penalty that does get saved, but it wasn't a terrible one. Nobody put one in the stands or anything. But yeah, Drake. I'm just glad that Franco didn't tell him at the time, well, actually, it's not officially a goal, Drake. I'm glad he waited till the morning after podcast to point out that technically it's not a goal.
Technically, it's not a goal. Technically, it's not a goal.
It's true, it's not a goal.
Thank you to everyone in the comments. Welcoming me back. Welcoming me back.
Welcoming you back. Listen, the penalty kicks were tense. I can't imagine. You saw the facial expressions of David
Leo
Beckham
Guerra says Gomez looks lost. Hope the other 2 new signings look better. I agree. I thought that if one player was going to miss after Ulloa, I thought it was Diego. He looked very scared. I think it's taking a toll on him playing with Messi, even though he has played in South America with his national team and with the league there. I think he has been putting pressure on himself because he seems very nervous. He commits a lot of fouls. I think he just needs to calm down a little bit, and we will see his game, because I know he's a good player, but I think it's a little bit the nervous side, the mental side with him that he still hasn't gotten used to, being with Messi and all the drama that it brings and the focus that it brings. Like Simon was saying, when David Ruiz came and took the penalty, man, I was like, please don't let it be
the guy. Don't be the guy.
That misses the penalty, please. So I guess Diego was going under all of that. It was really interesting to me to see Drake come so securely to take that penalty, because if you compare the 2 goalkeepers, Drake looked calmer than
that's what Drake is, right? Drake is usually very zen,
I guess
very
the
calm.
meditation that Jose laughs about is working, because he meditated in the sideline waiting for his turn, and he made it. It was a good penalty. He said today in the media availability that he had practiced some penalties with CJ Dos Santos to make sure that he was prepared, because he had never taken a penalty before.
Yeah, and he took it very well, and then he makes the save. For me, and obviously in the penalty kick shootout, he became the figure, the hero. But I still think, even over Messi, I think he had a better game than Messi overall. I rewatched the game back, and Messi's first half wasn't. He scored a hell of a goal, but it wasn't an incredible first half for Messi overall. And the game itself, he was involved in the 2 most dangerous plays for Inter Miami, but largely, like you said, Simon, he was largely held in check by a very stiff, tough test that proved to be Nashville SC. Going back to the penalty kicks really quickly, just going and seeing the reactions of Jorge Mas and David Beckham when Drake makes that save, and Inter Miami is officially champions, and you see the celebrations on the field. Simon, we talked to David Beckham, we talked to Jorge Mas after the game. We talked about this yesterday. on the audio pod. But I mean, what did you take away from the reactions on the field? You saw David Beckham afterwards just staring into space. The dream became a reality, right? The freedom to dream became a championship reality at last.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's unusual, really, because generally speaking, journalists were like skeptical of club owners, right? We think, they're there to be questioned, they're there to be second guessed, and sometimes, not so much in MLS, but in some countries, you wonder about their motives as well. But I think when you look at those two guys, they've gone out there and built something really like from nothing. Particularly Beckham, really. I mean, he created the club in the first place, right? Without him having that clause in his contract to LA Galaxy to get a franchise, for a cheapish fee, would Miami have come in then? And you'd like to think the way that MLS has expanded, Miami would still have got a team eventually. But Beckham made it a reality. And I think, I was saying on the audio pod yesterday that I think a lot of Beckham's sort of emotional reaction is because he's still a little bit out there on the field. He still imagines like what it'd be like for him if he could have been there. He'd love to have played with Messi and so on. But also I think it's like, if you think about his life, from a guy who was a kid in London and he ends up playing for Manchester United, wearing the famous number 7 shirt and all the rest of it. And that's already an amazing like fairy tale for a kid from the East End of London, to then go and play for Real Madrid and then move to America and all the things that have happened in his life, and then to own a club and Lionel Messi comes and plays for it and he wins the title within the first 5 weeks. Like, Beckham must be thinking to himself, like, how much better does my life get? I mean, it's constantly, I mean, he marries like a pop star. He started dating her when like the Spice Girls were like #1 pop band in the world at that time, for the kind of music that they do anyway. And I just think he was a bit overwhelmed by it. He was very emotional, like you said. That
he looked emotional. Yeah, he did look emotional. Let's share a little bit of the clip there post game of David Beckham and Jorge Mas, but more so David Beckham responding to a question. But before we do that, let me read this. Mi amigo Yete, no hablo inglés, me gusta ver jugar a David Ruiz. So I think that's Andrea's burner account that she's typing away over there, or it's just a Honduran fan that likes to watch David Ruiz. But let's look at the clip here of David Beckham post game in the bowels of Geodis Park there in Nashville, Tennessee.
So we're so happy. I think that tonight was solo en inglés.
Está bien. ¿Cómo estás?
¿Todo bien? Todo bien.
Español, habla español bien.
Saludos para Argentina. Mejor en inglés. Yeah, tonight was a very special night. I think for not just for our club, for our fans, players, our families, and all of our staff that have been involved in this journey with us. But it wasn't easy. Tonight was a very difficult game, and Nashville put up an incredible fight. It was very close at the end, and congratulations to them as a club, as an organisation, and as players, because it was a very difficult game, but it was our night tonight, and it was special.
Yeah, I mean, he was emotional, and he was. You see the way Jorge Mas was looking at him while he was talking there?
Yeah, it's like Jorge Mas looks at him like...
Yeah, you need to find someone that looks at you the way Jorge Mas looks at David Beckham. Yes. Jorge Mas is like, he was smitten there.
And David, what I like the most, David Beckham was very happy. What I like the most is the gesture the team had, because they had a private plane for every player's family to take them and everyone in their families and their circle to go from Miami to go to Tennessee. So that was a good gesture from Beckham, and I am really happy to see him, because like, listen, having to deal with Miami politicians and everything, and we all know like the politicians are like crap here. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that word, but they are so bad, and David Beckham was dealing with them for so long. Like Simon was saying, that he must feel relief, in this moment to get Messi,
Really
to get
good
a
point.
title after they are still they until now they are the worst team in the season in MLS. So this is a fairy tale for him also, not just for Messi but for Beckham and also Jorge Mas. Of course, David is more interesting for us that have followed his career and football, that he is still happy and he's still investing in football and building a community here in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point about Beckham and the politicians, actually, because, you know, at the risk of turning this into a sort of fanboy episode on David Beckham, it is worth remembering how many times they knocked back Miami and Beckham's ideas for stadiums, and so many other people and owners, potential owners, and people in that position in the past could have just walked away from it, right? They could have just said, okay, that's it. These people aren't helping me to get a club going here. They're not on my side. I'm washing my hands of this. I'm going to move my franchise to San Francisco or wherever. Yeah. And he didn't. He stuck at it. So that should never be forgotten, actually, because that could have killed the dream.
That changed everything.
Could have killed the dream before it even began, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
But the dream is become a reality, Simon. Inter Miami are champions. They have another game on Wednesday, by the way, in a completely different competition that they're in the semifinals for. But for a few days, they will, relish in that they won and that they got to hoist the trophy. It's a very ugly trophy, but they got to hoist the trophy nonetheless.
Well, man,
did you see the engraving?
Let me tell you something. That trophy, man, I would have done a better trophy than that. And that letters of the engraving, like, seriously, people like Simon, that you're that British, like, people that do Wimbledon trophy must be like saying, what is this? You should have called us, because that was horrendous. And the trophy,
no, I mean, you've got to be careful when you're designing a football trophy. If you want it to be like, I hate the word, but it's right in this case, iconic. You want a trophy that, I mean, you look at like the European Cup that's now the Champions League trophy, yeah? You see that trophy, you know immediately what it is, right?
La Orejona.
Orejona, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the big-eared one. The big-eared one.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, big ears. And then the World Cup, with that globe on top of it.
Even the FA Cup, it's like a trophy. Cafetera trophy, that's true, Steve Munoz. That trophy, and I saw it today. They had it there in training in the stadium, and I couldn't believe how horrible it was. Like, the design, it was like really disappointing, because, like, seriously, like Liga, even the Honduran league has a better trophy.
It's just like this big, massive, clunky thing.
Like a plate. I felt like I could put mangoes inside of it, man. I could go to my tree in the back and put some couple of mangoes.
I don't know if the players were like, that it was that comfortable to hold up, because it's not like it's slim in the middle, right? To like kind of grip around.
Yeah. I don't know what it's supposed to be. What is it supposed to be?
I don't know what it is supposed to be. Like maybe a sand clock. I don't know. I really don't know.
Like if you filled it with ice and put some bottles in it, maybe, I don't know.
It was meant for the VIP section that Inter Miami was supposed to go to afterwards, but they had to save it for the flight. No, I don't know. The design is not the best. I mean, if there's changes,
and I was laughing because people had to handle it with gloves, and I was like seriously, I wouldn't care if that gets tainted. It's horrendous.
It is horrendous, but nonetheless, it's beautiful for Inter Miami, because it's
for Inter Miami fans, yes, that's true.
In their history. Again, we talked about the game a good bit, Simon. We touched on it a little bit here, but let's talk about what it means, right? They have their first trophy. Took 3.5 years, longer than they probably would have liked, or longer than they would have liked.
Yeah.
But what does this first trophy mean in the grand scheme of things, in the bigger picture of Inter Miami? Simon, we didn't talk about this on the pod, so I'll start with you this time, and then we'll work our way back around.
Well, first of all, it's what they call in business proof of concept, right? It shows that they can do it, right? It shows that it's realistic for them to win. They've gone out and they've beaten the opposition that were put in front of them, including a couple of decent teams. It wasn't the toughest route. You talk about the games that Nashville had. That was a tougher route to the final than what Miami had, for sure. But it's proof of concept. They can go and they can win. And now they've got another chance very quickly to win another trophy. So it changes the mood. It changes the mood around the club in another way. I mean, obviously the main mood changer is obvious, but winning things can become, the cliches. It becomes a habit, but it's something that I think, people talk about this word culture in a club and building a culture in a club, and there's nothing better to build a culture and to create a mood inside a club and a level of expectation inside a club than actually winning things. So it changes a lot. It changes a lot because now reaching the final of the US Open Cup and losing to Houston or whatever is not good enough. Whereas 6 months ago, you'd say if they got to the final of a competition and lost, that was a big step forward for Inter Miami. Now it's not. That's what it's changed.
Adam Andrews in the comment section says, "Todavía soñando for the treble," which Simon wrote about. Simon wrote about the treble.
I used the T word. Yeah.
He wrote about the
You
treble.
cursed it, Simon. It's your fault now.
I mean,
They're gonna lose against Cincinnati. I think I agree with Simon with a lot of stuff, but I think another thing that changes for Inter Miami is that they're gonna be able to finally grow their brand internationally. In reality, they're gonna go to how do you say octavos de final in English? Last 16 in English. In the CONCACAF Champions Cup, they're gonna get that money playing there. They're gonna get to play a big team either in Central America or in Mexico, and that is going to bring a lot of money because anywhere that they will travel, the game is gonna generate a lot of stuff, and it's gonna really build the brand internationally as they wanted it, because they're gonna get exposed to that. They're gonna get exposed to fans in the area and play in the best tournament in the area with teams and having to play home and away. So that is really going to make the team better, to make the team, the owners also have to invest more to compete, to really, if you really want to compete with the Mexican teams to win this cup, Messi is not going to be enough. And it's gonna really be interesting because they have talked about this in all this history, and now that they won a cup, everyone is expecting for them to get to that match either in Mexico or in a place in Central America and win it. And let me tell you that cup is very, very, very difficult for MLS teams, and it's gonna be nice to see Inter Miami to play there and to see how the team evolves after winning their first title. As Simon says, they are now obligated to win.
I think that's the point. I think that's the point, though. I think it's the point that that is really the biggest takeaway of it all, right? Because before this, right, Inter Miami was the flashy team, and they always talked big, but they didn't deliver on the field. Now they've actually won something. Now, of course, they've got Messi, they've got Busquets, they've got Jordi Alba, but now they've won something. Now they can point to something like Simon says, and it's tangible proof that they can be a contender for these trophies and these cups. And what I think it does, now it really raises expectations. Now Inter Miami is going to be looked at as a favorite or one of the favorites anytime. And if the results don't match that, then there's going to be criticism. I mean, talking to La Familia, members of different Inter Miami supporters groups before the game in Nashville, one member of Vice City, Bernie, told me, we used to go to away games and think we were going to lose. Now we go to away games and we're confident we're going to win, right? Like, it's changed the whole landscape, the whole dynamic. And this is what Inter Miami has always wanted. This is the bar that they want to be measured against. And they finally have gotten to that level. Before they wanted to be a winning team, now they are a winning team. So I think absolutely from this point forward, the expectations will rise even further, and they will be judged even more critically if things don't go well, because now they are expected to be one of these top teams. Before it was just all boquilla. It was just, I want to do this, I want to be this, but they never showed it on the field. Now they show it on the field. They talk the talk and they walk the walk. So I think this is going to really, really catapult Inter Miami into being
just one
contender.
One point, if I can, on what Andrea was saying about the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I think the impact of this and together with the whole Messi thing, transforms that cup completely. Mm-hmm. Because, and also, yesterday I wrote an article about what Don Garber was saying, that no, we're not going to play games in Mexico as part of Leagues Cup because
They
Leagues
know they're
Cup
gonna
is-
lose.
because Leagues Cup is going to be it's a tournament held in the US. It's not a home and away series. Blah blah blah. Right? We can debate about that another time. It's a big issue, I know, and I got lots of feedback on Twitter from people about it. But the point is, people in Mexico are a little bit annoyed about it, and they're also probably noticing like a little bit of crowing about MLS clubs are on a par with Mexico now. After this Leagues Cup, we don't need to feel inferior to Mexican clubs and stuff. When that CONCACAF Champions Cup starts and it's home and away, and you're playing away to Club America, to Chivas, to Monterrey, to Tigres, Pumas, or whoever else is in there, because there's going to be about 6 or 7 Mexican teams in
More,
that
Simon, because of Leagues
goes
Cup.
on. It's just even the way it's been organized, it's all built around Mexico and MLS, and they are going to be ready for those MLS teams turning up and say, "Oh yeah, you can have your little Leagues Cup. Come here and beat us in Mexico on our ground, and then we'll go over there and defend our lead against you." And Inter Miami is going to be right in the middle of that. There's nothing that Mexican clubs would love more now than to destroy Inter Miami in Mexico.
Exactly, and that is why I was telling, because that game that they will play next year is a must-win game for them. They cannot go. Let's say they get León, which is the champion right now of that cup, but it's not doing as good in the league. If they get León and Inter Miami goes there and loses 4-0 like LAFC did, they're gonna get that is what Mexican teams want after what the whole debacle of Leagues Cup and all of that you were saying, Simon. So it's gonna be interesting for Inter Miami, and that makes the owners and makes everyone in the team to strive to get better, to bring more players, to be able to compete with Mexican rosters, because then you have America, you have Cruz Azul, you have Monterrey. All those teams have better rosters than what is available for Inter Miami in this, even with Messi.
All those teams that lost
rosters
in the Leagues Cup. All those teams.
Yeah, but they didn't play Inter Miami.
They didn't play Inter Miami, but they still lost to other teams that aren't Inter Miami.
And Monterrey had its star, and America was eliminated by that. All that drama that's been Leagues Cup that you cannot.
Great.
Yeah, it's great.
Wait, did you guys? That's the question.
It's great for
That's the question. Did you guys like Leagues Cup? Did you guys just quick yes or no? Did you guys like the Leagues Cup?
Yes.
No, I did.
No and yes. Okay, I would say, look, for us and for Inter Miami fans and for Inter Miami.
For Inter Miami, it was good. Yes,
because Messi arrived and Messi was playing and they were winning and they got to the final and they won. But if you're a team that got knocked out early and you're not playing competitive games for a few weeks, like let's say Inter Miami got knocked out in the group stage and then they don't play for several weeks. I mean, is the perception still the same? Is the perspective still the same? Oh yeah, we love the Leagues Cup. I mean, the competition itself is interesting. I do think that the away game format, you can't just play all the games in the United States. I mean, essentially, we know MLS is doing it for economic reasons more so than sporting reasons, right? Like that's clear. I think if you want to balance that out, you have to have games in Mexico. Now, Don Garber saying that that's not going to happen or it's unlikely, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice across the board. I mean, like Kyle says,
something has to change.
Man, that's an atmosphere they need to adapt to. You have the reason people play sports is to compete. So you want to compete, not just in where it's comfortable for you in the United States. Like you want to go to Mexico.
And let me tell you, Nashville was good in that aspect. You guys that were there must have seen it, because I really like Nashville fans booing Messi. That is what will grow this sport here. And I've read people, why are fans booing Messi? Man, Messi was booed in every stadium in Spain and against any team that he played against. That is what will grow American football, American soccer here. Messi getting that experience is better for the growth of soccer and football here than go for him like he went to Dallas and people were cheering on him instead of cheering for the home team. So I really like that. From Nashville supporters, it was very good, even though they booed the Inter Miami. And that's the team we cover, but I really like that. And I really like that banter with Johnny's doing the Sue. I knew in that moment that Inter Miami was going to win, because once you do that, you always end up losing.
Speaking of that very, very moment, I was taking video of La Familia there in the stands. And Giannis comes out and he's strutting and kicking the ball around. And then he starts doing the Siu Cristiano Ronaldo celebration to poke fun at Inter Miami. And La Familia booed immediately. Boo, whistling, heckling. He did it 3 times and he got booed the first 2. The third time they just stopped paying attention to him. Actually, funny enough, when he first walked out, the La Familia members were chanting "Let's go Heat, let's go Heat," which I thought was hysterical. But no, look, I mean, the game itself, the final for me, it felt like an MLS Cup. I've covered a lot of MLS Cups, and it definitely had that type of feeling. There was a lot of obviously MLS executives in and around Nashville and the downtown area, sprinkled in different hotels. You could just run into people out and about. So it had an MLS Cup vibe. I don't know if Simon shares that perspective, but and then the game itself felt like a big occasion. You had celebrities on hand. Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman was there for some reason, which Simon was. When I told Simon that
her husband,
his mind was blown. And Giannis was there. Hero, our favorite Argentine influencer on social media, was there, and he got a picture with David Beckham and Jorge and Jose Mas before the game. I mean, it was a big event. I mean, obviously Messi was involved, so that was always going to be part of the equation. But it felt like a big game in Nashville, and it proved to be
really good venue as well. The stadium's great.
Yeah, I really liked it. I was glad that they didn't play in the NFL stadium. The stadium looked really nice.
You go past the NFL stadium because it's very close to downtown, isn't it? The Titans Stadium. And it looks so old compared to like Nashville's shiny new stadium. But 30,000 capacity, that's really good.
It's good. It's one of the best stadiums in MLS, I think.
I think so because I think the league is going to it's going to be an issue, and it's a much bigger discussion. But the league is going to outgrow these 22,000 capacity stadiums soon. It is not in the next year or two.
No, I don't know about that.
Not in the next year or two. Seriously, in 5 or 6 years, there's going to be a lot of teams wondering why they didn't build. You don't think St. Louis doesn't think they should have built a 35,000 stadium instead of a?
It's early days, brother. Don't get caught up in the expansion hype, man. The first 2 years, it's the novelty effect. People are excited. People are like, yeah, all right, we have a soccer team. But then once
yeah, it's true. People talk about that with Orlando, and then it's half empty now, isn't it?
Then it dips. I
don't know.
2025 is
growing. It's booming. And all these competitions as well. I mean, that stuff about CONCACAF Champions Cup. Like, I was speaking to somebody from CONCACAF when Miami beat the Philadelphia Union, and they were so pleased to have Messi in that tournament, obviously. And I think just that whole tournament, like now, we're talking about the Mexican-USA part of it, which is obviously like a huge rival they're trying to build. And I agree with you about the Leagues Cup as well. Right? I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching it. Probably a lot of it was because it was Messi and Miami and all the rest of it, to be honest. But I quite like the format. I quite like the World Cup style format, little group stage that's over with quick enough into the knockout games. I quite like it. The big weakness is obviously that they don't play the games in Mexico. It's not. It feels like that's not real, and that's something actually I think U.S. soccer in general needs to get away from, because, like, it comes back to back when you play every Gold Cup in the United States, and they're always the home team, and then you play in every Leagues Cup in the United States, and you're always the home team. I mean, eventually, when you want to compete in like other competitions, you're gonna have to get used to like difficult conditions if you want to win a World Cup sometime, or win a CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I'm looking forward to that CONCACAF Champions Cup a lot, because it also, for the other countries, because it is so built up to be like Mexico, USA, it's going to really fire up the Costa Ricans. Because
exactly.
Like, what about us? And so are the Honduras.
Getting Messi. Could you imagine getting Messi in Costa Rica, in San Jose, or in Honduras, in Tegucigalpa? Beckham played there in CONCACAF Champions League with the LA Galaxy against Motagua, the best team in the world. Let me say that. And
I can't believe we haven't heard Burnley mentioned yet. I mean, it's been a good minute here, and I haven't.
Miami would have to qualify for the Club World Cup.
The World Cup, yeah, exactly. Motagua is gonna handle Inter Miami. No, but it was an occasion when David Beckham went to Tegucigalpa to play that match against Motagua, And let me tell you, fans, like Simon is saying, that is the way you grow. That is why every critic that you hear about the Gold Cup is always saying, like, especially in this edition of the Gold Cup that the US didn't play, and then in Nations League where you had that big stadium empty when the US was playing against Canada, that final, everyone was arguing, because that was a very bad look for CONCACAF, because how are you going to have the final played in that big ass stadium and then don't have people show up? So I guess Simon is right also, that has to change, not only for the business but for the growth, because then you get players, when like the US, when they got eliminated of Russia, they went to Trinidad thinking it like it was a joke of a game, and then they got eliminated because they couldn't handle the pressure, they couldn't handle the stadium, they couldn't handle the field that was flooded, and they couldn't handle all those situations. Of course, with Inter Miami, Messi, Busquets, and Jordi Alba have handled all those situations a lot of times, but the young players haven't, and they need to get that experience. Even Drake Callender, he told me that what changed his career, he considers his summer, was getting called up for the national team and playing in that, not playing, but being in that roster in Nations League, which they won. He told me that it had changed, and it had showed him what can be, what real passion and what real fans and what real pressure means. And that pressure is it's comparable to what Inter Miami have now, because now, like Simon was saying, they are expected to win on Wednesday, and they are expected to win, to go to the playoffs on MLS, and if they don't do it, they're going to be criticized, because now, even though they're in last place, they're expected to win every game, because they have Messi and they have Busquets and they have Jordi Alba and all this firepower.
Yeah.
Now, I have a quick question for you guys, and it's a little unrelated to what we're talking about, but it's something Simon and I talked about yesterday over our fantastic lunch that we had in Nashville. We had some spicy chicken. No, man, it was heavy, but it was very good. What was the name of the place?
Hattie B's.
Hattie B's, yeah, Hattie B's, and it's
the place you go for like Nashville.
There was a long line. That's all you need to know. There's a long line just to order your food, so that's how you know it's a good one. And it's on Broadway. Which, by the way, if you've never been to Nashville, I highly recommend the next Inter Miami road game in Nashville. You go to that game, because I mean it's a heck of a city. It's a fun city.
Brilliant, isn't it?
A lot of bachelorette parties all over the place. I'm not even exaggerating. It's not like, well, here, a couple there. No, all over the place. All over the place.
You still haven't got over that, have you?
No, but it's just like a mind-blowing thing that's one of the characteristics of Nashville. There's this like bachelorette parties everywhere. You don't really see that many bachelor parties. You just see bachelorettes everywhere, and they're all in their costumes or their uniforms or whatever their theme is. And you see them on different party buses. We saw a tractor trailer. We saw an army van. We saw all different types of gimmicks and all different types of things. I don't know what just happened to Andrea. I think we talked about bachelorette parties.
Had enough of hearing about you and bachelorette parties.
And we scared her off. But no, I mean, it's just a completely different look. Bachelorette, dale bichotas. It's just like a cultural difference that it's worth seeing. I think it's fun.
But you know what? Just to add some balance, so people
cool.
don't get the wrong impression about our weekend there, Franco. We actually spent the only actual free time we had was on Sunday afternoon once the work had been done of the follow-ups, and we went to a very nice quiet bar off a side street and listened to some guys who would be around 70 years old playing bluegrass country music with a female vocalist, and they were great, by the way. And the amazing thing about Nashville is you go into like a little bar like that. There were how many people were in that bar? Like a dozen.
10, yeah, 10.
Yeah, dozen people in there. And one of the guitarists had just recorded a new album in Nashville. The other one had just come back off on tour with a big country super band. And the singer was like an up-and-coming who was like, oh, you can check my music out on Spotify. And there was like 10 people there. But they're like top musicians, because the place is just swimming with the best country music in the world. So yeah, well worth the trip. Yeah. And bachelorette parties. There's lots of bachelorette parties.
I love the comment section, man. I think my favorite thing is not you guys, unfortunately. It's the comment section, man. The viewers and the listeners, I mean, they're fantastic. They also have a Tootsies, but it's different from our Tootsies.
Very
you get
different.
The reference, then you get the reference. If you don't, I'm not here to Clear
Don't
that
go
up for
there.
you.
Don't go there.
Leo Guerra, Simon making sure cover isn't blown. Well done. Listen, we did go to this bar that Simon just talked about, and look, it was good because we had worked late until Saturday. I think I went to bed at 3:30 in the morning, Saturday to Sunday after the game, so we needed a chill day, especially after that heavy meal. But I definitely did not pick that bar. That was definitely a Simon selection.
A Simon exclusive.
I'm not saying it was a bad decision. It was good. It was chill. It was what we needed. But if it was up to me,
It's not your style. It's not your
a little
style,
more upbeat. We would have been somewhere a little more upbeat for sure.
I don't know.
Let me reveal something. Franco sent me a message. There is no fade music here. He told me definitely.
I'm like, where am I? Oh no, but it was listen. It was awesome. It was awesome. I would highly recommend it as a road trip for any Miami fan. That if you guys map out at the beginning of the year, I might hit this, and this. I would highly recommend that.
Number one? Would you put it number one for road
trip? I don't know if I'd put it number one. I don't know if I'd put it.
Who would be number one?
It also depends on who you are. Like,
of course,
if you're young and single, or if you're older and married, then maybe Nashville's not the place you want to go to for an away game trip. I mean, it depends.
Hold on a minute. Which one? If you're young and single, you would want to go there. But
yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. If you're married and you've got kids and stuff, I don't know if Nashville's necessarily the best place to go to.
If you like country music, it is.
I mean, if you like
it.
Barbecue.
Barbecue was very good. Kala says the girl riding the bull. Yeah. Andrew. Oh, share that. Before we get back to the soccer, Simon, please share the story about your hat. Look, Andrew Rogers, live country and bluegrass is right up Franco's.
Yeah.
Simon, please share the story about your hat because we also
have no story about the hat.
There is a story. You got this in Nashville. You got it in Nashville. Come on, share the story.
Hey, it's a Nashville hat. Yeah, it's a barbecue place called Peg
Show
Leg
it to
Porker.
the people. Show it to the people. The Peg Leg Porker.
Great barbecue place. One of those like really basic places, really. Nothing fancy about it, but a lot of people there, and really good food and simple stuff, and there's a good vibe about that place. And even just like we were talking to one of the guys who was living near our hotel, who'd lived in Nashville all his life, and he was like telling us a bit of the history of the town, and people were really like, he was really nice, wasn't he? That guy with the dog and everything, and chatting away. Nice people.
They're very nice. They're very pleasant, man. Very pleasant. Like all the Uber drivers, like talk to you, and they try to make sure that they're getting a conversation out of you. And they're super nice and friendly. It's different.
Like Miami.
It's different. It's very warm. Southern hospitality type of feel. The lady that picked me up from the Uber on Friday night after I landed, we talked about soccer. We talked about David Beckham, and this was like my favorite thing that she said. She said, "Ooh, David Beckham," in her Southern accent, which I won't try to imitate. She said, "Ooh, David Beckham. That's a snack you don't need a cracker for." That's exactly what she said. That's exactly what she told me.
Man, the amount of comments that I get on David Beckham is like, seriously, not even Messi. Like, I personally don't think Messi is that of good looking, but David Beckham, man, he's more than 50, and man, David Beckham is David Beckham. Like, seriously, I agree with that. I endorse that women. I endorse the woman comment.
Andrea swooning over here. All right, let's quickly switch gears. Let's quickly switch gears to this Wednesday. Inter Miami has another important game, right? Turnaround's quick yet again. They play away to FC Cincinnati in Ohio, semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup. Now, FC Cincinnati just came off of a 3-0 loss to the Columbus Crew, and they played on Sunday. So they've played on even shorter rest than Inter Miami will going into this game, but of course Inter Miami travels. So, I mean, we expect Inter Miami to be the favorites, right? Just because they have Messi, even though they're away. But there's got to be some fatigue, right? There's got to be some tired legs. Tata Martino hasn't done a whole lot of rotating of players. Andrea, you touched on the substitutions that Tata made there in the second half and you not liking them. I mean, he talked afterwards in the post-game press conference about, Facundo Farias and Tomas Aviles, which again is a center back. But the whole point is that they were there on the bench just for like a rare emergency. Like he said they weren't going to play barring that because they haven't trained with the team. They're just not ready from, his judgment. So, he was very limited in the options he did have. I think, I don't think he was looking for penalty kicks. I think he was just trying to stay consistent, right? Like the complete opposite of Phil Neville, right? Like that was.
I think he was looking for penalties.
Once
he brought in Diego Gomez and brought in David Ruiz and Victor Ulloa. You're just.
I think he was trying to shore things up defensively. I think he was trying to shore things up, but I don't think he was just like. He didn't park the bus either, right? Like, I mean,
no, because he brought Campana, but Campana was just like an afterthought for him to bring.
Campana could have won the game in the 9 seconds.
Yeah.
Simon and I have already talked about it, but Andrea, I just want to hear your quick thoughts on that miss, because that could have been a very, very bad miss. We would have talked about that miss a lot more had Inter Miami not won this time.
Yeah, well, one thing that really stayed with me is that Victor Ulloa and Leonardo Campana didn't go to Messi and tell him thanks. They went to Drake Callender, and I saw Victor Ulloa saying, I'm sorry, thank you, man, thank you, like, because it would have been very bad for Victor Ulloa and for Campana. But let me tell you something. The shot that Campana makes, the first shot that he makes, it was the correct one. He wanted to make it a spectacular goal. I can see that because the goalkeeper was coming onto him, so he tried to try to score a nice goal. I can understand that.
He tried to clip it with his left foot, but mishit it. That was a right-footed shot. I know he's left-footed, but estaba perfilado para patear con la derecha, right? Like the way he was positioned, it was for a right-footed shot. And because he's left-footed, he forced it on his left and he mishits it. Then he has to try to chase and scramble to get to it. He does, tight angle, tries to slide, and he hits it off the post. I mean, the replay of his reaction with the face is like,
and the second one for me was a mistake because he should have scored that. Like, I think he went with a little too much because I'm guessing here that he said he thought like I had to put this in, and he went with too much force, and that is what he missed. And I agree with Matthew, like a striker with no confidence, Campana has no confidence because he doesn't have the trust of Tata Martino and
that could be the case, but that can't be the excuse. Because you have
Franco, but he has been on the bench for Joseph, who does nothing on the field.
Andrea, you have to
absolutely nothing. I like Joseph, but Joseph has done nothing, and then scored 2 penalties that Messi gave him.
Oh, did you forget completely about the golazo he scored against Philadelphia in the 3rd minute? Did you forget about that golazo? Okay, see, I mean, listen, I'm not saying Joseph Martinez has been wow up top, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, he does add some things. Now, should Campana be starting? I think Campana should be starting, but that's not the point. The point is
what has Joseph added, Franco?
Joseph, for what he wants, right? He wants him to build up. He wants to que esté parte del juego, right?
Build up what?
Combine, to knock around. I mean,
what, combine with who?
He does do that.
With who?
Whether he does it well or not, he does. He passes it to Messi. He passes it to Taylor. You see what he does. Plays his back to goal. He's always doing
the back with his back to the goal. Exactly. Correct. That's nothing for a striker.
Would Martinez have scored that chance? That's the question.
That's the question. That's a good question. I think Martinez would have scored that chance. That second shot. The second shot Martinez would have scored because it was just to tap it. He didn't have to go so hard. You could even hear the post. If you were watching the game on TV, you could hear the post. But I think, I agree with Broward Heron. Like, how is he supposed to get confidence with no playing time? He's on the bench, Franco, and the bench. Okay, he's on the bench for a player who is not scoring, who is not good.
You asked me the question.
Who is not good enough.
Asked me the question. All right, so how? You have to make the most of the time that you have on the field, right? You have to
that is a miss. That is a bad miss.
You have to perform, and listen.
But he got that
5-minute spells out
he got the chance at least. He got that. Joseph didn't get anything against Nashville. Like, and you need to create more of with the type of football that Inter Miami was playing during that second half after that Nashville scored. I think Exactly. Look, what I'm saying, DUI universe, I don't think Martinez would have even been in that position. Exactly, because with Joseph Martinez, you cannot play that. He wouldn't want have won that ball like Campana did that, because Campana is taller. He has a better physique than Joseph.
You're going on a tangent. You're going on a tangent. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what Campana has to do. Campana has to make the most of the time he has. He's not like
he has to make, but we cannot judge him because of that miss only.
Andrea.
Listen, it was a bad miss. I'm not making an excuse, but
it was.
I don't think we can judge him.
It was the end of a championship game. If he scores that, they're champions outright. There's no penalty kicks. Had they not won the penalty kick shootout, I mean, that's a game-winning opportunity. That is a title championship cup winning opportunity.
I know, Franco, but also like we are giving
one-on-one.
We're giving considerations to Drake Callender. That goalkeeper did a good job in messing, in getting in front of him, so that Campana was not comfortable when he shot the first shot.
The goalkeeper didn't even touch on it.
Of course he didn't, but él se sirvió de estorbo.
Let me throw something else in here, right? In my opinion, neither of those guys, Martinez or Campana, are doing enough to justify being the center forward playing alongside Lionel Messi in a football team. Neither of them, in my opinion.
I agree with
one
you.
of them has got to get their act together in this remainder of this season if they want to be that guy next year. Otherwise, they're going to bring somebody else in there, whether it's Suarez coming eventually or whether it's somebody else. Eh?
It's going to be Suarez. It's going to
right. It's probably going to be Suarez. But if it's Suarez, then this discussion, one of them leaves and the other one's the backup. So one of them's got to really step up if they want to keep their place in the team.
Yeah, I agree with that, Simon. And I even agree. Someone was asking me today, how would I play in Cincinnati? I would think that for me personally, I would like to see Farias and Robert Taylor in the wings and Messi a little bit more central and Joseph go to the bench, because I really don't like what he's bringing for this team. He's not bringing much. And when you get Campana, at least when you bring him as a sub, you get a little bit more dangerous. He's a lot more dangerous for teams to control than what you get with Joseph Martinez, unfortunately, because he's always, yes, he touches the ball with Robert Taylor and with Messi, but always with his back on goal. So I really don't like that. I think that is one spot that is missing with this Inter Miami team that Tata has built in this month. And they need to change it. Someone told me like Joseph is just starting because Messi likes him. I don't know if that's the case, but I guess when you have a team, you have to build you have to build chemistry. It could be the case that Tata knows him, Messi likes him, and that's why he's playing.
Listen, again, I will reiterate that I don't think hold on, someone's at my door. Who is that? What's she doing? I got a visitor apparently. some Nashville visitor. No. So look, listen, Campana.
You brought someone from Nashville?
someone came in my baggage. Now, so listen, Campana is the better player for me. The better player.
Yeah.
Now but you can't say Joseph doesn't do anything for Inter Miami, because he does give him el juego asociativo. Whether you like how he does it or not, and I don't think he's been by and large incredible, but he has played a part. He has done some things, right? He scored penalty kicks. They're penalty kicks, but he also scored, I think it was a great goal against Philadelphia. Early on, took it well, made the run in behind, thought he did a good job. I think Campana should be starting, but he's got to make the most of the time he's got. He's getting 30-minute looks here and there. He's got to do better. There's no excuse.
Yeah, he's got to do better. He's also nervous, but as we've been talking, he's nervous. He's without confidence. He even said it. He said it to you guys with Jose, and be serious, people. I cannot be laughing in the middle. I forgot what I was going to say already.
I don't know that.
No, that's Kyla is definitely an avid follower of my Instagram handle, because Peluche is my neighbor's dog, so he's saying my neighbor's dog.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. Let's quickly touch on the Wednesday game. I mean, Inter Miami is the favorite. Inter Miami's away from home. Will we see some rotation? Will we see different players stepping into the lineup. Messi will be starting. Tata Martino said that today.
I
But
think
will we see other players?
I think we will see a couple of other players getting a starting role. Maybe even Robert Taylor gets some rest, because I don't. You guys were there, but from what I saw, he was one of the most tired guys in that starting 11. Maybe Joseph also can get a little bit of rest, and you with that you have options to replace those two guys with Robert Taylor. I guess Tata Martino can count on Farias or even Stefanelli, who was training today, who did normal training. He's completely back. He could be also getting in the game, coming in for Robert Taylor and seeing him back and see him play with Messi for the first time. So Tata has that possibility, especially with Robert Taylor. For me, Robert Taylor and Joseph Martinez could be the guys that get some rest in this game against Cincinnati, especially because you have weapons in those positions that can make Cincinnati's defense a little bit complicated.
Yeah,
Simon,
that
what do you
makes
think?
sense. I think freshening it up a little bit as well, not necessarily to like just for the sake of rotation, but to actually freshen the team up. And the team has been tiring in games. You know, it has. We talked about it the other day. The last 20 minutes or so, Nashville played on that. They played for that, actually. Teams know that Miami are going to run out of steam, and it's an issue. So they need to freshen it up a little bit. But, you know, they're going to play the strongest team they can put out, but that might require freshening things up. In terms of like a big rest for people, I don't think they're going to do it in the semi-final of the US Open Cup. I mean, a couple of changes like the ones Andrea was suggesting is entirely feasible. Beyond that, I don't think so, because I think the message very clearly to Tata from the ownership will have been, we want that final. We want to get to the final. We want to win this competition. And also, you know, Jorge Mas has already kind of promised that if they get to the final and they've got a home field advantage, he's going to have this huge, big event at Hard Rock Stadium if he can. So,
did he promise that, though? He mentioned it. I don't know if he promised it.
Well, maybe promised a little bit.
Stephen Ross is watching this broadcast and is saying, "I'm gonna make some millions right now if Messi wins on Wednesday."
Well, it's not just Inter Miami winning. Houston has to win the other game. That's the only way Inter Miami hosts.
Otherwise, it's in Utah. Yeah.
But I agree with Andre. I think the two players she mentioned could be rotated out. I think maybe someone in the midfield could come out, not Busquets. Kremaski.
We saw Mota. I saw someone asking about Mota and Gregory. Mota is also back fully, like Stefanelli. They did a whole training today with the players that were on the bench on Saturday.
Right.
They are available 100%. I could see Mota playing with Busquets, and Gregory is still not back, so we will have to wait. We're gonna see Dixon Arroyo and Busquets, and maybe we see Mota. That could be one of the changes that they make. Benjamin.
I can't imagine he's ready to start.
Yeah. I think
Diego Gomez is the guy that will come in the midfield if
midfield. Yeah, Diego Gomez. I don't know if Diego Gomez would start, though. I don't think Diego Gomez has impressed in the minutes that he has had for him to earn a start. So if Mota is still not ready for 90 minutes, I'm expecting for us to see the same midfield with Benjamin, Busquets, and Dixon Arroyo, and maybe some changes up top. I don't think defense is going to change. Calendar is not going to change, and that's it. Maybe we see Marsman back as a sub.
Marsman's still part of the team, apparently. He was there for the celebration.
That is so bizarre for me, because he was wearing his shirt with his number. How did you cut him? And he is still, I couldn't imagine. Jose tells me, like, oh, maybe they're giving him the chance. Yes, I understand they're giving him a chance while he gets a team, but to wear his uniform with a number when you're not part of the roster, it was very bizarre for me. It was kind of funny.
I mean, it's one of those Inter Miami, parting of ways that always leaves you with some mystery, right? Matuidi, Kieran Gibbs, Marsman. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing with Inter Miami. We just don't know exactly what the terms of these departures have been. I'll say this, and then we can start wrapping up. I know Simon's got to run or walk. Actually, Simon walks every night. This Inter Miami team, the team that's been playing, and that we saw in the Leagues Cup, is a very tough team to beat. Very tough team to beat. Like, even with Nashville playing well and Inter Miami not playing well, Inter Miami still didn't lose. Right? They went to penalty kicks and they won on penalty kicks. But they still didn't lose. It's going to be very tough to beat this Inter Miami team because even if you can negate Messi for a lot of the play, even if you can negate Busquets for a lot of the game, they still have the ability to pull out something out of almost nothing or nothing, like Messi did on the goal, right? The goal is a pass into the box that comes out and he just picks it up, dribbles by a few defenders and smashes it into the top left corner. No era juego colectivo, no fue, just them with their build-up breaking down Nashville SC. It was just Messi doing Messi things. It's going to be very difficult. Whenever a team beats this team, that team's gonna have to have played perfectly, and Inter Miami's gonna have to have played poorly. Because even when Inter Miami plays poorly, it's still tough to beat them. So
I think Inter Miami wins on Wednesday. I think that the problem that Inter Miami may have is their defense. And until they fix that, Brandon Vazquez is a very dangerous player, especially for a defense like the one that Miami has right now, because he's tall. He is right now, in this moment in his career, right now, what Campana should be for Inter Miami, because they are built the same, tall players, very physical players, but that have good touch, that have that talent and are very, very technical. And I think he's going to be a problem for Inter Miami's defense. We saw it against Nashville. They had a lot of problems with Nashville, with Hani, with Aníbal, even with Aníbal Godoy, who's not a striker, with Fafa Picot. So I think, but as you're saying, the thing is that Miami has Messi. So when you have that, the problem is the problem for Miami is if Cincinnati can do what Nashville did, tie a game, have the 90 minutes with the game tied. In US Open Cup, you're going to get those 30 extra minutes. You're going to have to play extra time. And Inter Miami is going to have that on their legs. And you're going to have to think about bringing players, bringing Busquets or bringing Jordi Alba, who ended up the game. If Leagues Cup had 30 minutes extra, Jordi Alba wouldn't have been able to finish that game, because he was very tired. So that is one thing, one positive thing that Cincinnati have going on for them, if they can hold on or if they can tie, because I'm expecting Miami to make a field day with their defense, because it's not as solid, but they have a good attack. So it's going to be interesting to see that. I think they will play.
Quick question, Andrea. Quick question. Who wins on Wednesday? That's it. That's all I want to know.
I think Inter Miami wins on Wednesday.
Simon, who wins on Wednesday?
I think it's going to be another really tough one, actually, because that result at the weekend was a weird one for Cincinnati. I haven't looked actually to see whether they played a full strength side or whether they rested.
A lot of suplentes. How do you say? A lot of bench
reserve players, right?
Yeah.
Which they're saving people, because for them to get to the cup final is also massive for them. So the big game in Cincinnati, big crowd going to be there, and they are dangerous. They're a good team. I mean, they're not top of the Eastern Conference for nothing. Luciano Acosta is a real guy who can dominate a game. That's going to be really interesting.
I like the Italian pronunciation of the Argentine, Luciano. I like it though. I like it. I know you have your Italian background. I know.
I do. Yeah.
I know.
Well, some of the Argentines. Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
I think they go to extra time.
Give me a score. Give me a score.
And Brandon Vazquez is going to be a handful for Miller and Christoph.
If Sergio Christoph can play like he played on Saturday, I don't think Brandon Vazquez has much of an impact. If Sergio Christoph plays like he did on Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, he did. He's the Ukrainian PK, isn't he? But it's yeah.
No. Predictions.
My predictions are it goes to extra time, and Cincinnati win it in extra time.
I think I agree with Simon. I told you before, if they go to extra time, I don't think Inter Miami is winning.
No. Andrea, you just told me Inter Miami is winning. So now you can't say if they go to extra time. Because you're just giving me two predictions now. Which one? Give me one prediction.
I think if they go to extra time, it's gonna be difficult for Inter Miami. But if they can keep it up in 90, Inter Miami is going to win the game. But I agree with Simon that Cincinnati is going to play for extra time.
They want it really bad, Cincinnati. They
Yeah,
really,
they're
really
going
want
to play
this.
for extra
And
time.
Miami
They know
just
they're
won their big
tired.
trophy and had their party. I can
Mhm.
see this being, sorry for the Inter Miami fans, but I can see this being what they say in England. They call it after the Lord Mayor's show. There's a little bit of a come down after the party and the reality hits you. And Cincinnati are really hoping that's the case and they're ready for it. And Franco disagrees with me and he thinks Inter Miami, yellow card for Simon.
Yellow card for Simon.
Go
from
on,
Texas
Franco.
if you
Save
want.
the day for the optimists.
I will say Inter Miami wins this one 3-1. That's what I predicted
Wow.
for this game. I'm predicting 3-1. Like I think
Bold.
Cincinnati
That's bold.
has attacking power. They can score, and they probably will score, but they don't have enough to withhold and withstand Inter Miami's attacking onslaught, which we'll see. Nashville SC was very well drilled. I don't see Cincinnati being able to pull off that type of game. I don't see that. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Nashville. I think we said it, and I tweeted it out. I think of all the teams that Inter Miami have played in the Messi era, they did the best job at neutralizing. You know, I think Gary Smith did an amazing job there. Yeah,
I think if Inter Miami can get back to scoring early, then they can put this one away early, and then they're through to the final. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Last thing I want to touch on. It was my favorite. Probably my favorite moment from Saturday, even though I had left the press conference room when this happened. But I do want to share the video because it's a tremendous moment. It's a tremendous moment. I know Andrea has her opinions about it, and we can talk about it quickly. But yeah, let's watch this. This is one of my favorite.
I knew this was coming.
Creo que está en muy buenas manos.
Mute.
You're on mute, Frank.
You get the idea. There was a festive post-game celebration there in the press conference, in the middle of the press conference. I know, Andrea, you weren't too thrilled with that. If you want to share.
No, I love it from the players. I think it was a nice touch from the players. They can celebrate. They just won. But what the hell were media going in with the players, man? Are you media or are you a team? What are you?
Listen, I'll say this.
I understand,
I wouldn't have jumped in.
You wouldn't get in with the players.
I
That
would
is their
not do
moment.
Right. That's their moment. I get it. I wouldn't have done that. But I understand. Listen, it's Messi mania, man. It's different now. It's different. It's different.
Not everybody that covers the team. It's not acceptable.
Not everybody that covers the team now is, just a reporter that's just trying to cover the team from an unbiased place. Now there are people who are very avidly, very openly.
Not even I would behave like that, even if Motagua wins the Club World Cup champions, man. Not even I would behave that way.
Let's get. You're right, exactly. If I saw Burnley win the FA Cup, I'm not jumping around in the press room. But there's professional standards that you have to keep to. There's no doubt about that. I will defend Fernando Fiore a little bit in the sense that he is like a personaggio, as they say in Italy.
But Fernando was not my problem.
With the team, and he does
Fernando
work
was not my problem.
But the other gentleman giving it the like, I mean,
it's part of Messi mania,
you
man.
Can't do that.
Listen, I understand. I agree with you guys, but it's Messi mania.
A lot of people were denied to cover this final. And you get that guy, not Fiore, because Fiore is part of the team, he can celebrate. But you get this guy who got a credential and got only to hug the players and interrupt their moment. the story is not about you, it's about the players. The players won. You should be there. You can record, you can stand up, but not get in there and get wet and hug everyone and hug all the players. Where Messi was not there because we would have gotten his bodyguard now that he has a bodyguard finally pushing everyone.
Also, like when journalists cross the line, they think like they're living out their dream of being one of the players, aren't they? Right? They're like they've crossed the fans with typewriters, as we call it, you know, and they're living out their dream as though they're part of the team. But guess what? The players are thinking like, who's this guy? What's he doing? They are most of the time.
No, man. The players were probably already like mostly drunk after drinking all that champagne anyway, man. They probably listen. It's a fun
when they
moment.
see the video, what they think, I don't know. I thought
it's a fun moment, and it'll be something.
You don't see that anywhere, Franco. Like serious, not even in American sports that you get media.
It's Messi in Miami. It's Messi with Miami.
Imagine someone getting into LeBron to get his ring and his trophy. Like what?
I wouldn't do that. Listen, I've covered MLS Cups, and I've gone into locker rooms where they do the champagne showers, and you're allowed to be in there and taking video and pictures and stuff. And I've had, Hercules Gomez, who works for ESPN, former U.S. men's national team player. He was with the Seattle Sounders, and I'd covered him for a long time. And he saw me go in there, and he poured champagne on my head. I didn't ask for it, but he did it, and that was cool. Right, but so it's just, but it's
you interrupted even the press conference. He went in front of the camera, like we didn't see any player. We just got him.
It's a whole new ball game. It's not all just American media now. It's international media, and not everyone is the same. Not everybody has the same style. Not everybody follows the same code of conduct as we would say. Because there's no such thing as a code of conduct, really. It's just what we by and large abide by, just from our own seats. But it's just part of it, man. It's part of this new reality that we're in, and we'll probably see more of that. We'll probably see more of that if that happens again, and they win the Open Cup, and the players come in like that again. You're gonna see that probably again. I mean, you think Inter Miami was like, you guys should not be jumping up and down? Like,
no.
Yes, I got from a source that they were disciplined. I don't think they're getting a credential ever again for Leagues Cup. The guy that did that.
Leagues Cup? What Leagues Cup is? We don't even know if there's another Leagues Cup, from what Don Garber said anyway. All right, we'll leave it there. We will come back. One of us is joining me later this week after the Cincinnati Open Cup game, before they play again in MLS action against the Red Bulls over the weekend. So we'll be back later this week in some capacity. Simon, we didn't get a chance to talk about your nickname, but we'll save it for another time. So
maybe I just don't need a nickname, Franco. Like, if it's so difficult to find me a nickname, maybe we just can just
Chele. He's the Chele.
Why Chele? I don't know. I don't get that one.
He's white.
Oh, fair enough. We're gonna get something, Simon. We're gonna get something. I had a banner up and ready to ask people, but I know you have to run, and we're running late. So let's leave it there. We'll be back later in the weeks. Thank you guys for listening to Miami Total and watching. I gotta stop saying listening.
Thanks for the comments. Good as always.
Miami Total Football.
Thank you guys, and thank you,
talk to you guys
everyone.